Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman with Nermeen Sheikh.
We spend the rest of the hour with one of Latin America's most acclaimed writers, Eduardo Galeano. He's the author of the best-selling book, Open Veins of Latin America, 5 Centuries of the Pillage of a Continent, which made headlines when then Venezuelan President Hugo Chavez gave President Obama a copy at the Summit of the Americas in 2009. Since its publication in 1971, the Open Veins of Latin America has sold over 1 million copies worldwide, despite being banned in the 1970s by the military governments in Chile, Argentina, and in his native country of Uruguay. In June 1973, 40 years ago next month, a military junta seized power in a coup in Uruguay. Eduardo Galeano was briefly jailed, then went into exile. He lived in Argentina and then Spain until 1985, when he returned to Uruguay. While in exile, he began writing his classic trilogy, Memory of Fire, which rewrites 5 centuries of North and South American history.
The writer John Berger said of Eduardo Galeano, to publish Eduardo Galeano is to publish the enemy of lies, indifference, above all, of forgetfulness. Thanks to him, our crimes will be remembered. His tenderness is devastating, his truthfulness furious, said Berger. Well, Eduardo Galeano is just out with a new book. It's called Children of the Days, A Calendar of Human History. He's on a rare trip to the United States and joins us here in our New York studio. Welcome back to Democracy Now!, Eduardo.
Thank you.
It's an honor to have you with us. Let's start with where you started, the title of your book, though you might have chosen that after you wrote this. But Children of the Days, why?
It comes from something I heard years ago in a Mayan community in Guatemala. Somebody said, we are children of the days. We are sons and daughters of time. And this began working inside me, and it finally resulted in this book. Each day has a story to deserves to be told, because we are made of stories. I mean, scientists say that human beings are made of atoms, but a little bird told me that we are also made of stories, and so each one has something to tell that deserves to be heard. And the structure of the book is the structure of a calendar. Each day, one story for each day.
And Eduardo Galeano, how did you choose the stories that you would tell for each day?
They chose me. You know, they touch my shoulder or my back, saying, tell me. I am a wonderful story. I deserve to be diffused by you, written by you. So please write me. And I said, well, I'm so busy. No, that's an alibi. You must write me, the story said. And so I ended writing the stories. And later I have a very hard process of selection, trying to say more with less, and after this process, the only surviving texts or stories are the ones I feel that are better than silence. It's a difficult competition against silence, because silence is the perfect language, the only language which says with no words.
Can you share some of your dates with us?
I brought some. No, not too much, just four or five only, because this is a program I liked a lot. I have been with you in other years, times, always. I'm always felt that it was really a way open to get a real democracy in a world which is not democratic at all. It's managed by 5, 6 countries, big corporations, and so-called international institutions which are not at all international. The World Bank is not worldly, and the International Monetary Fund and so on, and the big corporations. So it's like wars. Most of wars or military coups or invasion are done in the name of democracy, against democracy. I was remembering these days, 1964, I was in Brazil at that time, and then a military coup destroyed a democratic government, elected by people freely, and Django Goulart, the president, was condemned to exile. And I was there, and I remember once again a graffiti I saw in a wall in the days of the military coup, saying, "No more intermediaries. Lincoln Gordon, president." Lincoln Gordon was the ambassador of the United States. And it was a perfect portrait about what was happening. So some of the texts I chose, and today I chose to read, have something some connections with these sort of things.
This is Eduardo Galeano reading from Children of the Days.
March 9, the day Mexico invaded the United States. On this early morning in 1916, Pancho Villa crossed the border with his horsemen, set fire to the city of Columbus, killed several soldiers, nabbed a few horses and guns, and the following day was back in Mexico to tell the tale. This lightning incursion is the only invasion the United States has suffered since its wars to break free from England. There was an English invasion in 1812, I think, but it was not a real invasion, just a chapter of a long history of fighting for independence. But this one was the real last one, the Pancho Villa invasion. So this was the only invasion. In contrast, the United States has invaded practically every country in the entire world. Since 1947, its Department of War changed the name, has been called the Department of Defense, and its war budget is now called the Defense Budget. The names are an enigma, as comparable with the Holy Trinity. Something about a defeat for civilization. Terrible day. It's terrible, dramatic. And advice for people with problems, cardiological and so on, because it's moving and very, very tragic. In the year 2002, 8 McDonald's restaurants closed their doors in Bolivia. Barely 5 years had this civilizing mission lasted. No one forced McDonald's out. Bolivians simply turned their backs, or better put, McDonald's earned their stomachs. The most successful company on the planet had generously graced the country with its presence, and these ingrates refused to acknowledge the noble gesture. Distaste for progress dissuaded Bolivia from embracing either junk food or the dizzying pace of contemporary life. Homemade empanadas derailed development. Bolivians stubbornly attached to the ancient flavors of the family have continued eating without haste in long and slow ceremonies. Gone forever is the company, forever gone the company that everywhere else makes children happy, fires workers who try to unionize, and jacks up the rate of obesity. A couple of texts about terrorism. July 1st, one terrorist fewer. This is almost unknown here. For me, it was surprising because it's important, really important what happened. In the year 2008, the government of the United States decided to erase Nelson Mandela's name from its list of dangerous terrorists. Nelson Mandela was a dangerous terrorist dangerous for the national security of the United States during 60 years. The most revered African in the world had featured on that sinister role 60 years. And so I would like to celebrate September 11 as a day against terrorism. That's the name of the day for obvious reasons. September 11, a day against terrorism. And I would like to celebrate the day, pasting posters against terrorism all around the world, posters saying, wanted for kidnapping countries, wanted for strangling wages and slashing jobs, wanted for raping the land, poisoning the water and stealing the air, wanted for trafficking in fear. And the last one, a homage to my idol, Rosa Luxemburgo. She was a woman, and this was un defecto grave, a sin, being a woman. So she's not very, very, very well known. But for me, in my formation when I was very, very young, I understood, I could understand for the first time through the life and the words of Rosa Luxemburgo what socialism could be. Was not, but could be. In 1919, Rosa Luxemburgo, the revolutionary, was murdered in Berlin. Her killers adjuncted her with rifle blows and tossed her into the waters of a canal. Along the way, she lost a shoe. Someone picked it up. That shoe dropped in the mud. Rosa longed for a world where justice would not be sacrificed in the name of freedom, and freedom would not be sacrificed in the name of justice. Every day, some hand picks up that banner, dropped in the mud like the shoe.
Eduardo Galeano, reading some of his entries in his latest book, Children of the Days, a calendar of human history. We're going to break and then come back to our conversation with the great Latin American writer. Stay with us.